The silver knives flew towards Tang Mo, every movement extremely fast. Tang Mo didn't dare be careless. They hadn't seen each other in half a month and Bai Ruiao's strength had actually improved. He was faster and more powerful. Tang Mo opened the small parasol and heard a metal collision sound on the surface of the umbrella. These two knives actually left white scratches on the strengthened small parasol. Bai Ruiao's lips curved. Tang, your umbrella is good. A dark shadow flashed and Bai Ruiao immediately used the knives to block the blow. He slipped back a few meters, raised his head and stared at Fu Wenduo. From the moment Tang Mo fired the dart at Bai Ruiao to now, everything happened in only 3 seconds. Bai Ruiao was a psychopath but he wasn't a fool. He smiled as he glanced at Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo before looking at the Chen Shan trio. There was a faint glow around his eyes as he stared at the 5 people. He grinned, there are so many of you yet you are bullying me. Lian Yuzheng crossed her arms. I'm not meddling in your affairs. Apart from Lian Yuzheng, there were still 4 people. Fu Wenduo and Jack wouldn't casually watch Bai Ruiao attack Tang Mo. In particular, Jack stared viciously at Bai Ruiao. The baby-faced youth noticed his angry eyes and blinked, the big man over there, I don't know you. Don't look at me like that. I'm not gay. Jack gritted his teeth. Bai Ruiao raised an eyebrow. Do you know me? Jack definitely knew Bai Ruiao but Bai Ruiao didn't know him. Bai Ruiao had innumerable enemies. Jack couldn't forget the Shanghai A.S. Semli instance. He hadn't failed but he indirectly suffered a lot. The selfish madman did things to harm others. Jack wasn't afraid of Bai Ruiao but he hated Bai Ruiao. Bai Ruiao muttered, I'm so popular, and the smile on his face became brighter. You didn't come here this time to kill me. Bai Ruiao smiled and looked at Tang Mo. I don't want to kill you. Tang Mo put away the small parasol, not worried at all about Bai Ruiao's surprise attack. You have a strange personality but you aren't a fool, you won't die. You might have a chance when attacking and fighting me alone. However, now there are many people. Even if you really manage to kill me, you won't be able to leave alive. Bai Ruiao spoke in a deliberately exaggerated tone. Wow, Tang knows what I am thinking for the first time. Tang Mo ignored this man's foolishly and asked coldly, Bai Ruiao, what are you doing here? I'm talking a walk. No one believed his nonsense. Bai Ruiao grinned. I took a walk and happened to see Tang and Major Fu. We are old friends and haven't seen each other for a while. I wanted to come and say H.E.L.Lo. Bai Ruiao pulled the dart out of his shoulder without changing expressions. He didn't return it to Tang Mo and placed it in his pocket in a natural manner. This prop would become an ordinary dart after being used. Tang Mo didn't stop his behavior. A low male voice was heard. Yesterday, the Black Tower announced that the new version was going to be updated. Bai Ruiao turned and looked at the calm-looking man. Fu Wenduo stared at the baby-faced youth. You are worried about this update. Bai Ruiao paused for half a second before suddenly smiling. It turned out I was thinking this way. I found out for the first time. Thank you, Master Fu. Any confrontation seemed useless before this baby-faced youth's deliberate stupidity. Tang Mo narrowed his eyes and stared at Bai Ruiao. Then he looked over at Fu Wenduo. The two people glanced at each other. Fu Wenduo shook his head and Tang Mo frowned before turning to go, not wanting to waste time on this person. Bai Ruiao called out, Hey Tang, don't you want to kill me? Tang Mo didn't look back and continued moving. Tang Mo definitely wouldn't be soft if there was a chance to kill this man. He and Fu Wenduo agreed that Bai Ruiao's strength had grown. No one knew how this person's strength improved but if they wanted to kill each other, Bai Ruiao might be able to escape but they would also expose a lot of their cards. This was the base of Tianxian and Lian Yuzheng was watching. There were many opportunities to kill Bai Ruiao but now wasn't the time. The group moved a bit further when a helpless voice was heard behind them. What if I say that I have information about Mu Huixiu? Tang Mo stopped moving and turned with an astonished expression. He threw the beautiful knives in the air and caught them in his sleeves. The baby-faced youth blinked at Tang Mo. I said that I know Mu Huixiu. Fu Wenzheng heard that he could see his brother and Tang Mo today and felt very complicated. These days, he had stayed in the Tianxian organization instead of Li Miao, helping Ruan W.A.N.Shu and the others heal. He was a bit afraid of the Tianxian stowaways. However, if he left Tianxian then he had to see Fu Wenduo. Jumping out of a tiger cave into a wolf's nest, the child said to himself in a depressed manner. Perhaps his brother was more murderous than Tianxian. There was the sound of knocking outside the CLA.S. room. Fu Wenzheng was shocked and reflexively looked at Ruan W.A.N.Shu sitting in the CLA.S. room. The sickly-looking teenager nodded at him and Fu Wenzheng silently opened the door. He was happy and nervous when he saw Tang Mo and the others. He shouted, Big brother. Fu Wenduo nodded and then Xiao Fu saw the grinning psychopath at the rear of the group. Fu Wenzheng exclaimed, Ah, how are you here? In Tang Mo's team, this small child had always been bullied by Bai Ruiao. The baby-faced youth imitated Xiao Fu's stunned expression and spoke in an exaggerated manner, Ah, it is me. Hehe, you guessed it. Fu Wenzheng scoffed and was turning back into the CLA.S. room when he found something. Why are you running in place? Bai Ruiao whose smile froze. Tang Mo's group didn't have anybody good. Lian Yuzheng was telling Ruan W.A.N.Shu about Bai Ruiao. Ruan W.A.N.Shu looked warily at Bai Ruiao but allowed him to exchange information. Ruan W.A.N.Shu said, Tell us first. Who is Mu Huixiu? Bai Ruiao squinted. Why do I have to speak first? Ruan W.A.N. calmly said, it is because you asked for us. Bai Ruiao made an exaggerated expression and Ruan W.A.N. repeated, if you don't want to cooperate then you can leave here, Mr. Bai. Bai Ruiao smiled at Tang Mo. Tang, look at him bullying me. Tang Mo didn't bother looking at him. Bai Ruiao was still smiling but his cold eyes were locked on the pale teenager. After a moment, he spread apart his hand. Who told me to have a good temper? Mu Huixiu, a 25-year-old person from Guangzhou. She just returned to China the year before and her skills are great. She is famous in the circle. I met her in Moscow. She is a very beautiful woman. Tang Mo asked, what else? That's all. Everyone, Ruan W.A.N.'s voice was cold. Mr. Bai, if this is the information you want to exchange with us, I think we can leave now. Bai Ruiao told them, everything I said is true. Ruan W.A.N. asked, what does this mean to us? Bai Ruiao said arrogantly, at least you now know that Mu Huixiu is a man or a woman and where she lives. A light flashed as Lian Yuzhang pulled out a dagger. She was extremely fast and the dagger was placed at Bai Ruiao's neck. Bai Ruiao didn't hide. He just looked at Lian Yuzhang with a smile. No one expected Tang Mo to stop Lian Yuzhang. He looked carefully at Bai Ruiao and said, your information does make sense. Ruan W.A.N. frowned but chose to believe in Tang Mo. Lian Yuzhang retracted her dagger. Bai Ruiao actually knew Mu Huixiu. This alone had meaning. Bai Ruiao's matter was put aside and Ruan W.A.N. talked about the information that Tian Xian collected. Due to the existence of the time leaderboard, we know how difficult it is for the invisible people to trust each other or form organizations. However, that doesn't mean it is impossible. The invisible person caught by us disappeared half an hour ago. I ended his life before he disappeared. He was ranked 98th on the time leaderboard. Ruan W.A.N. looked grim. According to him, there are two relatively famous teams of invisible people in Beijing. Tang Mo asked, what type of teams? Ruan W.A.N. replied, the first one are twin brothers and sisters. The brother is 71st on the time leaderboard. They are light and dark. The two of them have never been seen together. If you fight against one of them, you have to watch for another person sneaking around in the darkness. They are very strong. Fu Wenduo asked, then the other team. Ruan W.A.N. was silent for a moment. He didn't directly say it. Perhaps it is because Beijing is the capital of China. It is densely populated and has relatively rich urban resources. As we guessed before, when the Earth went online on November 18th, all survivors remained on Earth and the invisible person went to a place similar to Earth. There was almost no difference between that place and Earth. The only difference is that there is no moon. Tang Mo asked, no moon. Ruan W.A.N. said, that's my guess. The Tianqian organization caught a total of 9 invisible people. From their descriptions, they have never seen the moon. In addition to killing people to get extra time, the invisible people can rest for 10 minutes after completing each game. I can't rule it out because 10 minutes is very short but these people never saw the moon. In half a year, 9 people didn't see the moon. This is too much to be a coincidence. That's why I'm guessing that the Earth has no moon, only the Sunday. The moon symbolizes the night and night symbolizes rest. The invisible people don't need rest so the Black Tower didn't give their room a moon. Ruan W.A.N. looked at the little girl who spoke calmly and said, this speculation isn't impossible. The group didn't become too tangled up in this situation and Ruan W.A.N. continued, the second group is more difficult than the twin brother and sister. Tang Mo, previously you said that you met a middle-aged man who was 89th on the time leaderboard. Tang Mo nodded. Yes, his name was Li Chaocheng. Ruan W.A.N. stated, there are 4 people in Beijing who are on the time leaderboard. Tang Mo was surprised and Fu Wenduo asked, including Li Chaocheng. Ruan W.A.N. nodded. Yes, including him. The group was a bit relieved until they heard Ruan W.A.N.'s next words. The 7th place on the time leaderboard is in Beijing. Ruan W.A.N.'s voice became serious. The 7th place on the leaderboard is a 16-year-old girl called Su Yusheng. Next, Ruan W.A.N. introduced the 3-person team with a young average age. Killing a person in the top 10 could get an excellent quality prop. In the past 6 months, Su Yusheng's name climbed steadily from 90th place to 7th place. In addition to Mu Huixiu, she is the second-ranked person in China. Players on the time leaderboard aren't necessarily strong but they must be bold and determined to enter it. Ruan W.A.N. added, Su Yusheng's team only kills pigs. They only killed invisible people who didn't have extra rest time, unless a person attacked Su Yusheng to get props. Such teams were extremely rare among the invisible people. There were a few invisible people who liked killing pigs but there were very few players on the time leaderboard who only killed pigs. That didn't mean Su Yusheng wasn't strong. Ruan W.A.N. looked at Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo. 1 month ago, Beijing had 5 people on the time leaderboard. The invisible person ranked 36th heard that Su Yusheng's team only killed pigs and thought she wasn't strong. He took the initiative to try and kill her. The next day, his name disappeared from the time leaderboard and Su Yusheng's name rose from 10th to 8th place. Ruan W.A.N. knew this wasn't much information. Tian Xian caught 9 invisible people and none were on the time leaderboard. Su Yusheng's team had a bad reputation in Beijing. Anyone they targeted would die. Other people couldn't find out anything about them and no one knew what Su Yusheng's ability was. Tang Mo's eyes narrowed as he thought about the information on these two teams. Ruan W.A.N.Shi told them some other information. By the way, it was mentioned that there were no players in the top 50 in Shanghai. There were 4 after the top 50. Chen Shanshan stated, the regional division of invisible people is the same as ours. Beijing is China District 1 and Shanghai is China District 2. Mu Huixiu is District 3. If she is in Guangzhou then Guangzhou is China District 3. The situation in Beijing was more complicated than other places. In addition to the 2 famous teams, there were dozens of invisible people in Beijing. These teams tended to consist of only 2 people. After finding prey, they would evenly distribute the result. Ruan W.A.N.Shi mainly gained information from Beijing but he cautioned, many of the strong people aren't on the time leaderboard. We can't be careless. As far as I know, there is a team of 2 foreigners in Suzhou. They aren't on the time leaderboard but they are notorious. They aren't on the time leaderboard because they like to rest. They will choose to rest whenever they get a chance. They are extremely strong and have cleared the 3rd floor of the Black Tower early on. They like to kill pigs and their killing method is very cruel. Tang Mo paid attention when he heard Suzhou but he didn't think too much. All the information was gathered and the group quickly made a decision. Tang Mo said, there are 7 days before the Black Tower update. We have to collect more information. I care more about the twins and Su Yusheng's team. The brother is 71st on the time leaderboard but the sister isn't on there. Tang Mo paused and looked down at Chen Shanshan. What do you think? Chen Shanshan said, I also think that they seem strange. Bai Ruiao's voice was heard at this moment. Wow, is it a woman's intuition? Such a small child has a woman's 6th sense. Fu Wenduo spoke lightly, have you finished running? Bai Ruiao who was still running, there was a unanimous agreement between Tang Mo and Ruan W.A.N.Shu. The Tianqian organization and Tang Mo's side decided to use these 7 days to seize as many invisible people as possible. Ruan W.A.N.Shu said, since the Black Tower announced a new version update, the invisible people are staying on Earth for a longer period of time. If you capture an invisible people then there will be time to gain information from them. Tianqian had 6 powerful stowaways at the core but they had many members. The average strength of an invisible person was definitely stronger than the survivors but the Tianqian organization was far superior to ordinary players. Bai Ruiao ran for a full hour before finally stopping. He smiled and listened to Ruan W.A.N.Shu's arrangements. By the time the group focused on him, they discovered he had disappeared sometime. Even Fu Wenduo wasn't aware of his disappearance. Tang Mo became alert. In the next 7 days, Tang Mo accidentally entered an instance. They spent this time carefully looking for the invisible people. By the time May 18th arrived, Tang Mo had a full list of the time leaderboard. The first place was still Mu Huixiu. Su Yusheng had moved from 7th to 9th place and the twin brother had moved forward to 62nd place. Ruan W.A.N.Shu and the leaders of other organizations in Beijing seemed to have negotiated but they couldn't reach a contract. They were all waiting for the new version to arrive. 6 o'clock on May 18, 2018. The warm sun slid below the horizon and the moon rose from the east. The remaining sunlight shone on the Black Tower, making it look softer. The moment the second hand pointed to 6 o'clock, a genial song was heard, followed by a female chorus. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo hid in a small building on Chang'an, staring at the Black Tower in the distance. The Black Tower had never been as gentle as it was today. This song was Ave Maria. The female voice sung lightly and the Black Tower S.H.I+ mirrored with a warm red glow. However, in the deadly still Beijing, this originally very gentle song sounded strange. The planet was silent and the city's roads were empty. Countless eyes hid in buildings and stared at the Black Tower with frightened and hateful eyes. Once the song stopped, lights on the tower also disappeared. Everything became cold again but this was the Black Tower. A small white spot of light flashed at the spire. This time many people noticed the light spot. They counted quickly but their expressions turned ugly after a few seconds. Tang Mo tried to count the number of flashes but even his dynamic vision couldn't capture it. The dots of light flashed wildly, perhaps it was more than 100,000 times and maybe it reached the millions. Next was the second dot of light. It flashed more than 30,000 times. The third light dot flashed 6,932 times. The fourth dot only flashed 11 times. Tang Mo patiently waited but the fifth dot didn't light up. Tang Mo suddenly realized what was going to happen and he straightened his body. The next moment, a crisp and unemotional childlike voice was heard. Ding dong. The Black Tower version 4.0 new rules. First, the last person instance is officially closed. Secondly, opening the returnee game. Returnees are players who don't have an ident.I.tie. Releasing the methods to gain an ident.I.tie, eliminate a stowaway and acquire the ident.I.tie of a stowaway. Eliminate 10 official players to obtain the status of an official player. The elimination method includes but isn't limited to beating them in instances. Third, returnees who are granted an ident.I.tie will no longer be affected by the rest time. The time leaderboard will always exist and the rankings will no longer be updated after 18 o'clock on May 18, 2018. Fourth, releasing the method to get rid of the stowaway ident.I.tie. Stowaways who clear the 5th floor of the Black Tower will automatically become reserve players. Reserve players who clear the 6th floor of the Black Tower will become official players. Returnees can eliminate these reserve players and directly become formal players. This was broadcasted 3 times in a row. The indifferent child's voice echoed in the sky above each city. This was perhaps the quietest moment in the world. No one spoke and no one moved. They were like leopards lying in the GRA.S.S staring at prey, waiting for their enemies to appear. Ding dong, 5.63 million players have successfully loaded the game, 320,000 players have successfully loaded the game, game saving, the player data is loading, the game data is loading, save is successful, loaded successfully, the returnees game has been updated, ding dong. On May 18, 2018, the Black Tower version 4.0 has officially launched. All players are welcome to enter the game. Tang Mo hid in a small building, waiting for the last sentence of "Please try to attack the tower." His eyes were locked on Chang'an Street in front of him instead of the Black Tower. In the world of the invisible people, the Black Tower was also suspended above the Forbidden City. Once the invisible people returned to Earth and the two worlds merged, perhaps they would suddenly appear nearby. 3 seconds later, Tang Mo looked up at the Black Tower with astonishment. Chen Shan was surprised. Where is the sentence of "Please try to attack the tower"? Xiao Fu also reacted. Yes, every time the Black Tower updates, it says we should try to attack the tower. This time it didn't say it. Does it not want us to attack the tower? There was an unknown premonition in Tang Mo's heart and Fu Wenduo's expression sank. The next second, a cheerful childlike voice sounded over the world. Ding dong. China District 3 returnee Mu Huixiu has taken the lead in clearing the Black Tower's 4th floor and triggered the Black Tower version 4.0 update. The returnees have gained the reward, Eve's Game. The rules of the game: first, from May 18, 2018 to May 24, every night from 18 o'clock to 6 o'clock the next day is the game time. The game doesn't affect the Black Tower games. Second, during the game time, the returnees will get the extra Eve's Reward prop. The prop is a one-time item and players have to find the use for it themselves. Third, returnees who fail to use the props by the end of the game are judged to have failed the game. Fourth, Earth players who kill the returnees on the time leaderboard can get Eve's Reward. If the returnee hasn't used Eve's Reward, the Earth players can look for ways to use it. Fifth, Earth players who kill China District 3 returnee Mu Huixiu can get Eve's Reward and the rare prop, the Fallacy Compa.S.S. Sixth, returnees who kill China District 1 stowaway Fu Wenduo can directly open Eve's Reward and gain the respect of the underground people. Seventh, returnees who kill Europe District 1 official player Lina Jaffos can directly open. 13th, returnees who kill China District 1 official player Tang Mo can directly open Eve's Reward and gain the respect of the strange circus leader. 14th, returnees who kill China District 1 stowaway Ruan W.A.N.Shu can directly open. 15th, returnees who kill China District 1 stowaway Lian Yuzheng can directly open. 49th, returnees who kill Europe District 18 stowaway James Holland can directly open Eve's Reward. All over the world, players had wide eyes as they listened to the Black Tower finish the 49th rule. There had never been a Black Tower game with so many rules. However, every name mentioned by the Black Tower was known to Earth players. Fu Wenduo, Lina Jaffos, Andrei Ivan Petrov, Tang Mo. These names had been broadcasted by the Black Tower for the past 6 months. There were only a few names that weren't known to players around the world. Today, the Black Tower repeated their names over and over in the same mechanical tone. The sun sank into the earth, the moon rose and sprinkled moonlight on the Black Tower. The Black Tower calmly stated in an indifferent voice. Do you know Eve? Find her, she is hope. You can also join my Discord channel to chat with fellow readers about the novels.